game. Go Eagles for Sherrod Blakely.
Oh, I forgot. Ew.
I have not forgot.
I forgot you're
Will
an Eagles
not
fan.
forget. Damn right. Damn right.
You almost went
Damn
down there.
right.
You almost went down there.
Well, yeah. There was some family issues kept me from going down there. Which, as I look at the list of parties that I was invited to this weekend, um, it kind of sucks that I'm here. But this was a hell of a game. I enjoyed this Memphis game a lot, though.
So is this
I
like
enjoyed it.
I think we have two wins of the year in the last week or so. When you look at like the Philly game, how many guys they were out to be able to be. This is what's interesting too. You stack. What's going on back there?
I
So
think
you
the
got
Celtics dancers are ready for the Super
two
Bowl.
teams that fancy themselves as contenders, one from the West, one from the East, easily top three teams in each conference. And you beat them, you beat Philly without anybody, and that's the game Jalen Brown breaks his face. But you're missing your two centers and Marcus Smart for that game against Joel Embiid, and Brown goes down. So it's Tatum and whomever. And then in this game, you got your bigs back. You're still down two core players, three Brogdon. Smart, Brogdon,
Jalen.
and
Jalen.
Jalen. So you're missing three of your
It's
top
huge.
6 or 7 players against another contender, and you win. And another great game. And again, both of those games were kind of won the same way. And it's interesting because they're won by shooting. But I mean, this is what happens when you're like, you got to throw your Derek Hausers and your Peyton Pritchards in the game. What they do is shoot. They've got to shoot once they get in there, and when those shots go down, everything is going great. And that's kind of what happened tonight. It was a great. I mean, another great team win.
And you did it without Tatum having to be top five Tatum. I think
Again,
for me
He might have been
that's what's
bottom two Tatum, but yeah, that's fine.
this was this might have been like bottom 10 Tatum. I mean, he wasn't very good at all. He did make shots. He did a decent job rebounding, but he wasn't great in that category. And to be candid, I mean, he wasn't great at anything or and marginally acceptable. But that being said, you had so many other guys that stepped up to the moment. Sam Hauser, that was a guy that I really I thought was really a difference maker in this game. Derek White had a lot of big plays and big shots, but we've seen that movie before from Derek. But for Sam to step in and shoot with confidence, this was a Sam Hauser that we saw the first portion of the season, who was getting bit minutes here and there. But today, with an opportunity to be a starter, it was like his third start of the season. He was huge. I mean, he was a big part of them being able to really kind of get into a good flow offensively with him knocking down some shots early. And throughout the course of the game, I thought he had a really good rhythm that they're going to need from him. Once the entire gang is back together. And Sam, I had a chance to talk with him before the game, just about his role. And with him, the mindset is really simple. Just control what you can control. It sounds easy, but when you're playing more minutes, it's a lot easier to control what you do. You're not worried about if I miss a shot or two. They're going to bring in Jalen back in the game, or they're going to bring Tatum back in the game. He knows he's got a little bit more room to work with, and to his credit, he's making the most of that. And he's playing, it looks like, a lot more freer than we saw. Or there's like a 10-15 game stretch where he just really wasn't very good.
I think I think what he's trying to do, Sherrod, and what the Celtics are trying to see if he can cement a role in this rotation. And that's going to be huge for the Celtics moving forward because, like you said, the way he started in the beginning of the regular season, he fell off a bit. We weren't quite sure who he is, but, I mean, this is another sign in that direction that he can cement that role. That will be crucial for the Celtics, especially if you're looking down the road in the postseason. And I think we'll get a good test against the Milwaukee Bucks. But, yeah, I mean, like what you said, it's interesting, too. I was telling Bobby this towards the end of the game how what Brad Stevens had to say before last game, right, about the trade that they made and bringing guys in, guys that fit, but guys that know that they're not going to play a whole lot of minutes, and because how important that person is, it's going to take away minutes from guys like Hauser, guys like Derek White. He even mentioned Malcolm Brogdon. I mean, it kind of is a trickle down effect to that. So I think I thought of Sam Hauser in that regard. And thinking, man, if he can cement that role, he's been with this team since last year, especially the year that they went to the NBA Finals. Even though he wasn't active, he was with the team. I think all that is relevant, and I think this would be a perfect spot for him because the Celtics need that type of offense coming off the bench. And I think right now he's making a strong case.
Yeah, I mean, how different is again? I mean,
Maurice Sam is back.
You can almost like track the early season success to like Sam Hauser's success in the sense of like, obviously he wasn't the integral factor, but you can see like when they had that lineup where they were able to spread it move the ball around quick, and get it to the shooters, and they were hitting it, good things were happening. And those guys were involved in the game, and they were knocking down their shots. And again, albeit at a ridiculous clip. But like, I really believe just watching Hauser shoot in the first month, like, there's no way he's not a 45% three-point shooter if you give him opportunity. And if he shoots it at that good a clip, that offsets everything else. The reality was, a guy like Hauser is he almost has to shoot that well. He has to shoot mid-40s from three to kind of offset, everything else about his game to make him playable. But when that shot's not falling, it's really hard to justify the minutes. So I don't know what the change is. You think he just went through some glitchy moment, or where he was in his own head, or I definitely feel he was rushing his shot just because he wasn't getting as many opportunities and he felt he had to get them up when he was out there. But what's different right now? Like, I can't quite put my finger on it. In a strange way, being shorthanded may be part of the reason why, because you're forced to rely on people more than you normally do. Ball's not sticking as much. And yes, this is not a shot at Jalen Brown, but the reality is Jalen and Jason take 42 shots a game between them. There's only so much to go around with everybody else. So there's some games where you're just not going to be as involved. So you're almost forced to play team basketball. It is interesting that two of the best team wins that they've had in the last, second half of this season have been when they've been so ridiculously shorthanded and everyone's had to chip in the way that they did tonight.
Yeah, but what's happened in each of those wins, John? 20 plus 3-pointers. Like, that was huge for the Celtics, and it was huge.
Neither one Tatum played well, Philly in this one, but everybody else did. Neither one Tatum shot well, and everyone else contributed huge.
And guys like Hauser, like the game that he put together today, and then you look back at what Derek White did. Marcus Smart made a joke saying that he might tie my 3-point record. That's the kind of production that I think has obviously made an impact, and that's how you're able to survive games when Tatum's not having one of those 20-point performances, and you don't have Jalen Brown and Marcus Smart.
Well, I think when you look at Sam, I think him specifically, there had to be a stretch of what I would call just coming back to earth moments for him. Because when you look at the way he was shooting the ball at the start of the season, it was insane for him to stay at that clip. And even coming into this game, even with all the ups and downs he's had, he was still a 41% three-point shooter this season coming into this game against Memphis. So there are guys, think about it. We're beyond the halfway point, and he is shot better than 40% for three-point range, which is about where he should be when all is said and done. So for him, I think he had to go through a stretch where he just basically sucked so that his numbers would be more realistic and in line with what he's capable of doing. But the one thing that we're seeing with Sam Hauser is when he does get a chance to play significant minutes. In fact, today was the fourth straight game that he's played 20 or more minutes, and he's never done that before. So when you look at his numbers in this stretch, and you're seeing, 12, 13, 14, 15 points per game average, shooting like over 50% from three-point range, shooting around 50% from the field, that's who this guy kind of is when he's playing those kind of minutes.
This is a 31-minute game from Sam Hauser.
Yeah. If you 20 points in 31 minutes, and he took, 11 shots or something like that? He didn't take a ton of shots.
6 of 11 from 3, 7 of 12 overall. Made that first backdoor cut from Rob Williams on that nice set play that Joe kind of designed to start the game. That was his only non-3 attempt and only non-3 field goal. A wide open layup on the back door. Everything else was from 3. 20 points, 31 minutes, finishes a +1. So again, that's how hot he has to be to kind of play it kind of even, But that's fine because you need the shooting out there. If you're going to put somebody out there, in these minutes, it helps when they're good at least one thing. And Sam Hauser is really, really, really good at one thing, and that thing is extremely valuable. So being able to hit those shots, you'll take it. You'll take, anything. You'll take any of the negative if he can go out there and confidently take that shot and just let it fly every time it comes to him.
Yeah, and it definitely helps when he knows that he doesn't. If he misses a couple, he's not going to be yanked. I think there's some truth to that, and the fact that he was just shooting ridiculously in that first month. It was the law of averages. There was a cold front coming, right? Like, we all knew that was going to happen, but I think now he's settled in. He sort of found a happy medium, and I also think the confidence that he's built on the defensive end. I think that helps as well. I think a lot of the time when he was getting pulled, it was because he was getting burned on defense, and Joe Mazzulla just didn't trust him. It's like, hey, if you're not going to hit shots out there, you're you're not helping us, you know? So I think now he's found that confidence and that touch, the outside touch.
He went 2 months. He was 28% after that scorching
That was
hot November.
cold, man.
He
Yeah.
was
December.
20. In December rather. He was 28% in December, 31% from three in January. In January, that's 2 ice cold months. But as Sherrod pointed out,
he got
last 4 games, 31
Charlotte.
minutes, 32 minutes, 20 minutes, 31 minutes. 20, 12, 14, 15. And again, he's shooting from three, 6 of 11, 4 of 9, 4 of 4, 5 of 9. Just lights out, 54% from three this month. So, I mean, again, you would rather it just stay at 42, 43 always, because these highs and lows make it difficult to determine whether or not, you know, what you've got. But, you know, it's hard to fully buy in because, I mean, this isn't an anomaly. It's not like he went on a 2-week shooting slump. It's, you know, he was bad for 2 full months. And this is a guy who they didn't trust to play a minute last year, despite the fact that every time you threw him down to Maine, he'd go hit freaking 12 threes a night. You know, like, you know, he can shoot all day. And again, there's still those trust issues there. I don't know how you determine what you do here. Like, you're playing him now because you have to play him now. You're down Jalen. You have no wing depth. You just missed out on one buyout candidate. It is what it is. But you have to play him, and he's making the most of his opportunity. The question becomes, when you get everybody healthy and you are selecting to play him or not play him in that second unit, and for how long, and whether you bring him back for any significant second half run, is almost always going to be determined by whether or not the threes are going down that night or how bad the defensive matchups are. There's no way you can, it's going to go back because you're always going to be in that position. He gets that second unit run and it's either falling for him or not. So I fear it's going to kind of fall back into that cycle no matter what, but it's nice that he's taking advantage of this opportunity.
Well, he's going to have to, I think, continue to make the most of his opportunities. And
he's just got to make the most of it. Yeah.
Yeah. He has to figure out a way to be able to impact the game in a noticeable way other than making shots. That's what's going to get him on the floor with some type of consistency. Because right now, you're right, John. I mean, he basically is, in case we're not making shots, let's go to Sam. In case we got a matchup where the defense isn't that great, let's throw Sam out there. He's got to get to the point where he can either, whether it's, I don't think he'll ever be a facilitator, but I do think he can be a good rebounder at his position because he's a little bit stronger than I thought. He's got to figure out what can he do to help beyond just making shots. Could be he could become a good ball mover, you know, maybe a hockey assist type guy. But he's got to figure something out if he's going to be anything other than just a spot duty guy. Because right now, you know, you have to look at him going into the postseason as a guy that you're not going to play every night. But when you're playing a team that has maybe a weak perimeter defensive group, that's a great night to play him. Or a team that, you know, just doesn't really care that much about that side of the ball, he can hurt those teams. Yeah. But other than that, he's going to be very limited. He's going to be doing a lot of what we're doing. That's watching.
Well, the first month he was doing a little bit of those backdoor cuts, and they were finding him down low. But yeah, I'm with you, Sherrod. If he can find better ways to be effective without the ball in his hands, I mean, that'll help. But yeah, I just think with no Jalen, no Marcus, I mean, the minutes are there for him. The opportunity is there. He sees that moment. We have to give him credit for that for sure, because it's not easy. This is a tough spot, right, to be in, especially against a team like the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, a lot of guys couldn't get anything at the rim. It seemed like so many missed layups in this game, and they needed to spread the floor up on offense, and he was a huge part of that, along with guys like Derek White as well.
Well, the one thing he did say to me that I thought was interesting. Yeah, the one thing that Sam said to me before the game that I thought was interesting, now I think about it, was how this is really his first year of playing, and he is going through a lot of the things what first-year players go through. If you're having a certain amount of success, guess what? The scouting report for you the next time you're on the floor is going to be a little bit different. And so if you haven't figured out how to adjust and adapt, it's going to be hard for you to do that, and particularly when you haven't had opportunities to get out there and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, which I don't think Sam did, because, again, no, with all due respect to Sam, the guys ahead of him are ahead of him for a reason. They're just better overall players. And so for him, this is a great opportunity for him to not only get out there and play, but figure out what he needs to do going forward to be a better player so that he can better position himself, maybe not in the playoffs this year, but maybe going in the training camp next year, to be a regular rotation guy as opposed to the 3-point specialist / spot duty guy.
Yeah. I'm curious to see. It's a weapon that you just want to feel that you can, as you said, Sherrod, make the most of those opportunities when he has them. It is going to be interesting now because, again, the Muscala edition, I know they play a different position, but it is interesting the types of lineups that you can throw out there now that you have, that type of player who can, kind of fill in, as a big, though it's not a great interior presence, but also can just get out there to that 3-point line and fire away as well. It's an interesting dynamic because if you can get these guys going, you've really kind of changed a little bit the overall dynamic of that second unit offense. When you're throwing them in there, when everybody's healthy, when Brogdon returns playing with one of the Jays, but now Muscala, possibly Hauser, possibly Pritchard in on those minutes, that's a lineup that might be able to knock down some shots and can really spread the floor. It'd be interesting to see how they choose to kind of, who's going to play, who's going to rotate in there, what they do there when they do have that full lineup, because now you've got some choices. You have Marcus Smart coming back, but obviously Derek White's been playing outstanding the last few games, and there are some people who aren't going to want to see him jump out of that starting lineup right now, and possibly keep Jalen Brown on the bench, and start Hauser. No, I'm just kidding. But the you
always got to find a way, huh?
If I held that for a while.
Jalen, it was bad enough when folks started chanting MVP for Grant Williams, and I'm thinking Jalen never gets that.
Jalen
never.
If I held that for 5 minutes,
yeah. How did Grant get it before Jalen? That's so true.
My computer would have exploded.
Yeah,
I mean,
the chat would have somehow caused my computer to explode.
We know the fans were clearly, got things started early in terms of Super Bowl Sunday for them to start a chant for MVP for Grant Williams. But you're right, Sherrod. Not once have we seen that for Jalen, even on nights where he's come up big and carry the team to a victory. He's never heard it.
Yeah.
We got to get an MVP chant for Jalen at least one time.
At least one time.
John's like, absolutely.
John's like, hell no.
Look, what John's saying about the second unit and them putting together a strong group of, let's just say 4, right? I mean, I think that would be the plan.
JB disrespect is real.
I mean, that's ideal. I mean, that's why you go out and get someone like Muscala, who happens to shoot 40% or 39% from behind the arc. I mean, that's designed to give you
he's like Kelly,
a guy that you don't have. That's the weapon you don't have.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me a little bit. I mean, he's like a poor man's Kelly Olynyk in a lot of ways. A big who can shoot threes. Defense, it is what it is. Rebounding, It is what it is. But damn it, he can shoot threes. And I give Muscala a lot of credit. What did he do within 10 seconds of checking into the game tonight? 3-ball, up, launch. I'm going to call him Launchpad because every time he catches the ball, he's just launching it up. Regardless of whether a play was called for him or not, he catches the ball and you give him space to up that shot. It takes a certain amount of confidence to do that. And he's got that. And the one thing about him that I would say that really jumps out, and I talked to one of the Celtics execs about this today, was that he's a guy that if he goes out there and gets you 20 points, you're not really surprised because he's got that in him. He's not going to give it to you every night, but that's who he is. If Luke goes out and gets you 15 points, we're leading the show, talking about how amazingly awesome Luke Cornett is. That's the difference between a guy that could potentially playoffs that going in kind of what you're getting versus a guy who's a true wild card, which is, I put Luke Cornett in that wild card category. I put Sam Hauser in that wild card category. And if you're the Celtics, as much as you like to have those around, you want guys that you kind of know what the hell you're dealing with. That's why you go and get a Malcolm Brogdon. So you're going to get 15 to 20 points off the bench in the playoffs every game from that guy because that's what he does.
By the way, as a quick aside, I love the idea.
That's exactly what I said too, Dudley. I said that. That's what I told you. John. That's John. Don't say you guys. That's John.
Listen, I love the idea of Jalen Brown respect. A guy who finished second in the fan vote, third in the media vote. Okay, as a guy who's disrespected, I don't understand where you people think the disrespect is coming from. He's a largely beloved person. If anything, he gets more, I'm not even going to say more respect than he deserves. He gets plenty of respect and love from people. Plenty. Jalen Brown is not wanting for it. This is people picking on outliers or people like me and being like, oh, everyone disrespects Jalen. Jalen Brown is adored.
It's like the Marcus Smart crowd.
But you know, but John,
which was 50-50 not too long ago, a year ago.
So Marcus is legit split. Jalen is not split. It is a freaking
You think Marcus is still? You think it's still split?
Jalen is a first-round knockout, clearly massively loved and respected player by media and fans alike. Like, insanely so. You put up a poll. Would you trade Jalen Brown for, like, LeBron James year 7? And everyone would be like, never. That's crazy. Like, Celtics fans would vote 80-20 for Jalen over prime LeBron. Like, it's please don't tell me he's disrespected.
But there's just enough in the fan base of disrespect to keep the narrative alive.
Yeah.
There's just enough.
A little blood in the water.
Which is what we're here for, right, guys? Exactly.
And it feels irrational when you look at what he does. You look at the impact that he makes. You look at the fact that, does he hunt shots? Yeah, but so does Tatum. And last time I checked, both of those guys are good at it. So I love it. I absolutely, and Jalen loves it too. He won't admit it, but he absolutely feeds off that stuff. You don't have to spend a lot of time reminding him of what draft night was like. You don't have to spend a lot of time, him, being reminded about the KD rumors and all that stuff. He feeds off that, and I respect that. He channels that energy in the best way you should. Go out there and kick somebody's ass. Show them why they're wrong.
Take it on the court. Take it on the court.
Yeah, tell John Zannis to shut the F up. That's what he said. That's what he's doing.
John, get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Fans over now. He's waving.
We need Bobby Manning in here. Enough.
What's up?
What's up, Bobby?
What's goody?
Just stopped by Celtics locker room. We talked to Peyton Pritchard, Rob. Good to hear from him as well. Asked him all of John's injury questions. Didn't get much for John, but gave it a shot in there. And he played well by the end of the game, so it really didn't even end up being as big of a story as it looked early on. But
if they lost
I saw early on, John, a lot of the stuff he did. Those missed bunnies are just piling up from him.
It's, what, somebody put it well. It's funny because, like, I threw it out on, I've been on this for a little bit, the Rob stuff, and I threw it out there, and somebody put a good comment. He's active, just not as vertical and not as explosive. He's still extremely active. His hands, but you see him batting more balls than he is snatching them. You see him with more of those little bunnies. Then someone else kind of put it to, it's like you're seeing less of that quick twitch stuff, which is always one of the great things about him is how quick he can get up and down.
What about on those alley-oops?
And then, but when he loads up for it, he can get up. And when he's got a full run at the basket and he loads up, but he's got less of that quick jump sort of stuff when he's flat on his feet than he had before. Because you would see that. I always thought that was one of the most amazing athletic things that he could do. How quick he could get off his feet and how quick he could land after jumping and get back up. And you're seeing a little less of that. So again, it's interesting because you see some stuff and you're like, what the hell, man? On that alley-oop, his head was, he literally almost, took a bite out of the rim. And then other times, he's flat-footed, and you see him just kind of try to lay this little bunny, and you're like, dude, just get up, Yeah. So there's something there, right? But then as the game progresses, he's making more impact, keeping balls alive, offensive rebounds, right place, right time, cleaning up the glass, and obviously, made an impact.
Yeah, and he acknowledged the ankle injury. The ankle injury probably knocked him back some.
So he did go back a little bit.
So he's not quite where he was last year. He said as such, and he's close. He's close. He's getting there. He thinks he has a couple steps to go. A lot of it's going to be repetition, he says, being out there again and again. But not much acknowledgement of any physical limitations, really, hurt him at all this year, even though it doesn't quite look like he's that same guy. But you've had Brogdon saying this isn't full Rob yet. Other guys saying that throughout. Like, he's building up toward that. And we had the whole minutes thing. Now he's playing steady 30 minutes. He hits 32 tonight, which is probably right up there for his high, if not that. So, listen, I expected it to be worse this year. Back-to-back 16 rebound games, a few big finishes late.
3 straight 15, right?
Yes.
3 I think he had 16 15 plus.
Yeah. So 2 huge assists late as well from under the basket for 3-pointers. So those were all crucial plays. He ends up having a solid game by the end of it.
Whoever's got the dumpster rolling behind them, you might want to mute. Is that you, Bobby?
You'd like to be a little more efficient, but overall, a solid game.
Wait, I didn't want to mute Bobby while he was talking.
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. What do you guys think of Rob's performance, for real? Because it is tough because, again, he looks for a lot of the game, and he looked a lot last game, that physically there's just less Rob. There's less of the stuff.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Less of the stuff we've been accustomed to from Rob.
It feels like he's picking and choosing his spots more so than
Sure.
he's done in the past. And I understand that, and I hope that's what we're seeing. I hope that there's not some type of physical limitation where he's got to get warmed up before he can get back to being the Rob that we saw. I don't think. I don't know whether it was just a coincidence that he looked a little bit kind of picking and choosing his spot early on, and then all of a sudden he's catching lob dunks for doing the things that we're used to seeing later in the game. I don't know whether that was just coincidence or whether whether him kind of building up to that throughout the course of the game. But I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm hoping that it's not that he's had some physical limitation and he's got to work that out while playing. Because he's such an important part of what this team wants to do this year.
So that's
and
kind of the whole
I think
question.
it's mental too. But yeah,
That's the whole question, Sherrod. I would agree. It's either there's a like a combo platter here. There could still be conditioning issues there where his simply jumping a lot is tiring and he's conserving himself and he recognizes he's got to play more minutes, also recognizes maybe he's carrying a couple extra pounds and never really got himself into terrific shape post-surgery, and he's still kind of ramping up there. So he's picking his spots because he knows he goes all out, he's not going to have enough left. So he is intentionally playing at 70%. That's totally possible. That would be the best case scenario by far. The nightmare scenario, which everybody I think freaks out every time they watch him, gets swatted because he didn't go up for a dunk and just kind of put this little bunny putback, or he doesn't jump up for, he doesn't dunk when he could have dunked and instead lays it in. Is Rob gone? Is that version of Rob we fell in love with that we've seen over the last couple of years gone forever? That's the scary thing. That's nobody gives a crap if it takes him until mid-April to get his physicality back, if it comes back. But it's a question of not knowing. Nobody knows. Oh, and the other thing you throw in is other little injuries like ankles and this and that. If it's all contributing to it, and the real Rob is in there somewhere and will come out at some point again, then none of this matters. None of it.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's what we don't know.
Especially if he's just working on his touch around the rim and trying to be, the finesse layups as opposed to putting more energy that slamming it home. But I mean, I wonder how much of it is mental. How much of it is trying to get back into the groove that he was in, trying to match the same energy along with his teammates. But then also you have to preserve that a bit, right? Rob knows that he's going to be playing a lot more minutes down the road, so he's trying to figure out, just where to fit in, especially on offense, I feel like. And I think the concern that I see that I'm seeing, which is the same thing you're saying, John, the fact that his leaping ability and not slamming it home, or even before we were talking about how he would turn his back to the basket and start looking for a pass. I mean, that's part of his game as well, but he's got to be a little more selfish sometimes. And I would like to see him slam it down or make the layups. I mean, that's what worries me when he's not converting those layups. I mean, that's the part of his game that he has to get down, because it changes things when he's scoring. When he's scoring around the hoop.
Some of it has to be approach. There's no way around it. The team's approach and finding him, his approach and being aggressive in there. You talked last game about the little hook he put up that got swatted away. He got blocked a couple times in this one, I think, as well. He put back the second time over Conchar, or I think it was Aldama. So I think he's just trying to find his spots on the floor within this new offense, regain that aggressiveness. I'm sure there's some tentativeness coming back from this injury. But the other thing you can't help but wonder, John, and again, it's hard to get an answer out of guys on this. I don't think guys want to admit they're limited if they are. Does that surgery take them back at all after? Does it continue to impact them going forward? Because the nature of that surgery can be devastating to guys. We've seen it with Kemba. We've seen it with Lonzo Ball. We've seen it with countless guys throughout this league over the years, especially when you get the treatment he did. It can impact you over the long term. We said it at the time. Quicker return, bigger long-term risk. If he took the year off like Jaren Jackson did, it would have been a much different long-term outlook for him, but he would have missed the playoffs. And those comments, John, right from training camp, I think you were there on media day.
I was asking him about it. Like, did you have
played
to
in the
do
finals?
It,
we had a chance to win a championship. I played in the finals. So that kind of sounds ominous to me. Like, they knew there was some risk. They knew there'll be some impact going forward from doing the surgery, but it was worth the shot at a championship. And that's just what they'll both have to grapple with going forward.
Yeah, but it is hard to get that answer because no one's gonna. I mean, you're not gonna be like, yeah, I'm cooked.
Yeah.
Athletically, like, So
Man, I'm never gonna be the same.
Yeah, I'm worried, guys. I'm worried about it. He's never gonna say that.
You have to be.
No, I'm saying Brogdon is gonna say that about himself.
Oh yeah. Well, you have to be as us.
I mean, but it's everything.
There's a history there.
Missoula flat out called him out when he returned. Like, basically was like, he's not even close to in shape. Like, what needs to happen with Rob? He's like, he's got to get in shape. He's clearly way out of. I mean, he was not.
And that's gotten much better.
He was, and so now he's lasting 30 minutes. I mean, when he first started playing, he literally, after 3 trips up and down the floor, was toast. He couldn't get going at all. He was not even close to game ready when he started playing. So you can excuse the first 10, 12 games no matter what. Then on top of that, he's had a couple of ailments and ankle issues. So again, the really optimistic and hopeful thing is it's fine. He's just didn't have time to recondition properly. He has had a couple of minor injuries since then that have held him back, and he's still not all the way back, in terms of being in shape to be able to give it a full go for all of the 30 minutes he's expected to play. That's the best case scenario, and that's what I'm still holding on to. But again, even at 70, 80% of whatever it is that he could be physically, he still made a massive impact today.
I agree. Yeah, those passes particularly, and we always go back and forth. I'm going to go look at them again, but can he put it up in those spots? More often than not, he's going to look to pass it out. And I think one was to White, I want to say, and I got to go back and actually look at who they went to, but 2 enormous assists for threes in the second half with Memphis within single digits at that point. He helped extend leads when he was out there. He ends this one a +9 along with White and Grant. I think that led the team in the fourth quarter. So you really extended your leads with him out there in the fourth in particular. For the game, he ends up a +7, which was third on the team. So you're still getting these nice runs with him out there. And the biggest thing of all is this defense, the level they've returned to now. It doesn't look like last year's. Last year's had that suffocating feel to it where you would really notice, as you talked about, John, like it looking like 8 guys.
5 on 6. Yeah, it was insane.
But it's almost as impactful now since he's been back. Teams are really struggling to score against them. Tonight, Memphis had a fight to get to 100.
But a shit ton of points in the paint. So again, you want to see Rob be, and that's, they do that. You want to see Rob be a little bit more of a rim deterrent. Obviously, you have guys like Morant, who's such a good finisher. That's going to be hard, and he's making really difficult shots that most people can't make in there. But I mean, they still got 50-something points in the paint there, and you'd like to button that up a tad. But I mean, whatever. That's where they have to get it because they're just not that great a shooting team.
Yeah, they're 7th in defense in the new year, 4th in February, right there with Milwaukee. And how big of a game is that on Tuesday?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
They were right behind you coming into this one. 10 straight wins, 37 points a game for Giannis over that stretch. It's going to be a big one. Chris Middleton's back. This is one of those big ones for a regular season. There's going to be a real race for that 1 seed, it looks like. And now you have to be able to defend on the road against them, that position they've really been in for all year. They've slipped a lot, but other teams have had their losing stretches simultaneously, while the Celtics have. So it allowed them to stay in that position through that 16-11 stretch. Now, approaching March, you're actually going to have a race, I think, for this top seed, at least with Milwaukee. You fended off in Philadelphia for a game. They always scare me. They always do. Because there's just the relentlessness of Giannis and how important it is for Horford to stay healthy, to be that Giannis deterrent, Grant to stay active and involved and playable, to be out there as that Giannis deterrent. And then you always worry about the Rob matchup with Giannis in particular, too. So this is where that front court conversation we've been having all week. Did they do enough? Are they going to be healthy enough? Do they stack up against the Giannis and Embiid? They did a great job on Embiid earlier in the week. I'm sure they'll do a good job on Giannis again. But that's what makes that position so important. And as Bo Pett wrote in that story, John, you had rivals saying, like, they're worried about this group and their sustainability into the playoffs. You go get Muscala, who has another good game tonight, but you don't feel good about him as those guys in the position.
But again,
on the defense.
We started the show talking about this, Bobby. It's again,
It's interesting where you can have a game where, like I said, it's the second game this week where Jason Tatum didn't play particularly well, didn't shoot well, and you had and you're still missing multiple players where they were able to beat an extremely good team. So something's happening.
Brogdon.
So again, no Brogdon, no Jalen, no Smart. I mean, it's 3 of your top 6 or 7 players. You did it Philly without 4 players. There's something there right now that's happening. I'll bring it back to Sherrod and get Bobby's take too, because we talked about it a little. It's like, how much of it is, well, the shots are falling because that's what happened against Philly and again today against Memphis. How much of it is any sort of change in their approach to how they're going at things? Because it is interesting that when you're down people, Bobby, particularly ISO kind of shot makers like Brogdon and Jalen, you have no choice but to play a team game.
Yeah, and they've done that well. I love the passing tonight. And Tatum, too, counteracting those early struggles, and I guess game-long struggles from the field. Tough game to get to the rim against Jackson in that back line. He passed well.
Yeah.
He got to the free throw line. Still a big difference for him this year. He'll be able to have good games when he's not shooting well. And then the ball movement gets Rob involved late. A lot of this falls on White, obviously, too, with another 10-assist game. But Hauser's involvement has been awesome. 19-33 shooting stretch he's on right now. 57% from 3 over the last 4. He's on fire again. And really the whole team is getting back to their numbers that they should be. Like Grant's a little low at 36. Al probably a little lower than he was early in the year at 35. But in February, they've shot well. Tatum's 41% from 3 coming in tonight in February. They're back to hitting from there. And 21, night after you hit 25, I think the night before that you had another huge 3-point shooting night as well. They're back to that early season, at least close to it shooting.
I'll ask again, Sherrod,
Josue.
are they too reliant? Again, everyone says this, and I don't know, because I fell in love with it early in the season and kind of really bought into it. But then you see them go cold for 2 months. Do you want to see this team as the offensive identity is kind of spread it and let it fly? Are they too reliant on the 3, or is this the way that this team's going to win offensively?
Yeah, well, they're relying on 3. They're relying on 3 when Tatum's not having a great scoring performance, or he can't get his touches, or he's not getting to the rim the way he likes. And I think it's part of their character at this point. I don't think it's something like they're too reliant on it, but they're going to seek that shot. Mazzulla hasn't fallen off of that stand of saying, if it's a good look, take it. Maybe not so early in the shot clock, but if it's a good shot, I want you taking it, especially if they're open. So I don't think that changes.
Yeah.
I think they have to have better balance with it. I mean, they talk a lot about passing up good shots for great ones. Well, I got to be honest with you. If Al Horford has the ball on the block and he's guarded by John Morant, I feel that that's a better shot than swinging it out to wide open Sam Hauser. Even though Sam may be open, but if Al's like 5 feet from the rim and he's got a 5-footer guarding him, I want him to take that shot. I think they're still trying to find that balance between being an inside-out team, and I think they're much more too reliant, in my opinion, on just living and dying by the 3-point shot. And for the most part, they've been able to do that this year. But if you're not going to play a more balanced inside-outside game, then your defense has to be elite. And I think that's what really has been the one development that we've seen from the beginning of the season to now that has allowed them to still be kind of in that shot-chucking, live and die by the 3-point shot mode, because they're deep so much better, and that gives them a chance to kind of limit the impact of those nights when they're not making shots. But to me, why settle for that when you can just be greedy and try to have a balanced offense that recognizes mismatches on a block, take advantage of those, which as the game progresses are going to lead to even better shots on the perimeter. I don't think they do enough inside-outside ball. Al Horford, I think he does a pretty good job of it. And I thought he did a really good job tonight. He had this one pass where he drew like 3 defenders in the paint and just swung it to Derek White. And it wasn't so much the pass, it was where the pass was when Derek caught it. Yeah, he was able to catch it, gather, release in one fluid motion. It wasn't like he was catching the ball up high and then bringing it down, or was at his ankles. It was perfect for a guy to catch, gather, and release in one motion. Now, when you're doing that, that's inside-outside basketball that I think over the course of a game is going to help you.
You do have you're going to get fewer paint touches, though, when you've got no Brogdon, no JB. It's just built that way. Like, there's just fewer guys who are going to get there. And so you're forced with these lineups to do that,
That's another
But that's
reason
a good
I
point
wanted.
because you want to see more of that in and out ball, especially
Yeah.
against the Bucks. I mean, remember what happened last time? They caught the Bucks off guard with that. So it'll be interesting to see how they do with Horford and his approach offensively Tuesday night, because that was a big advantage for them, especially early on. Al had a big game.
Yep.
I look Friday too. They're still 24th in rim attempts per game, and it's hard to factor in the amount of free throws you're drawing in there because those obviously aren't shot attempts. But they've been low all year there. Part of it's the drive and kick game, as you talk about, inside out. They're looking to
Part of
pass
it is
out
none
that
of your
position a
bigs
lot
don't
of
shoot
times.
down low.
But
You
that's
just
the big one. You don't have outlets down there. So really the only guys who are shooting quality looks at the rim on this team are Brown and Tatum. You lose some of that in Brown.
and Brogdon.
White made up for some of it, but yeah, Brogdon struggled at the rim this year.
I know, but
So
he makes attempts. You know, he's the only guy. Those guys attack. You don't have outlets. You don't have the bigs who are going to go there and finish. Almost all of them, all your rotation bigs right now. If you're going to throw Grant in there, Rob doesn't shoot at all, and Horford, Muscala, and Grant are all better behind the 3-point line. So there's really no pressure. No pressuring the rim. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Celtics. Great win. One of, again, two best win of the year sort of wins, shorthanded against extremely good teams that are, teams that have, they're top 3 in the standings in their respective conferences with Philly and Memphis. We're going to talk a little bit about Jason Tatum as well, with obviously a couple of struggles here in the month of February. But first, real quick, HelloFresh, one of our sponsors here at the Garden Report. Is it up on the screen? I can't tell. There it is. HelloFresh. Do you see it? Go check it out. America's #1 meal kit, and it's so for a reason. If you're just busy, you're on the go, you're looking to eat healthy, you want to vary up your menu options because you're tired of eating the same stuff over and over again, just let HelloFresh do the majority of the work for you. It's time consuming. Go to the grocery store, get all of the stuff, chop it up, portion it out. It just delivered to you in a box. Pull out the menu card and boom, 20 minutes later, you've got a restaurant quality meal at home, healthy, whole organic foods. And it's just, like I said, delicious. You can customize your own menu options to eat whatever you want to eat there. Switch out your proteins and your sides, however you want to do it. We've all been all over it. Check out Josue's Instagram, Sherrod, big proponent of the meatloaf and many other meals that they serve there. Go to HelloFresh.com/Garden65. Use that code Garden65 to get yourself 65% off the entire order plus free shipping. A terrific deal available now with that code. HelloFresh.com/Garden65. Use that code Garden65. Also get yourself a free t-shirt in the process. You just have to fill out the form and we will send it out. Wanted to switch gears. Jason Tatum. Another bad game, shooting wise.
I got one more thing on the 3-point shooting, John, because I think a lot about that too, because it just irks me. Like, I get nervous about it. I worry about it. It's what I've been thinking about all year. Like, what's going to prevent this team from winning a championship? And one of the big ones you have to think about is a cold spell from 3. That's why I wanted Jakob Poeltl. One of the biggest reasons beyond the Rob insurance is it gives you that other outlet at the rim to get 14 points or so throughout the flow of a game. They're just throwing it to a guy in there. Rob doesn't provide the amount of attempts in there you're looking for. And Horford doesn't really go in there much at all anymore. So I do get nervous. I wrote about it again on Friday. Like, the reliance on the threes, they're, I think, 5th or 6th all time in attempts per game. Ever for a team.
Easy buckets are better than difficult buckets. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, look, unless you're elite from 3.
3's worth more than 2, but I get what you're saying, Joe.
It is, but you have to be able to knock it down at a very high clip. And if you can't rely on it consistently, the basis of your entire offense, that's what it is. Those dry games, you're just toast there. Like not being able to have it in your bag too. Everybody wants to be a team that can knock down those shots and create space and have people that can make you pay if you pack the paint. That's great, but you still are always, your goal has to be attacking, and you want to get in and you want to get those paint touches and you want to force the defense to collapse on you, and then you're kicking it out to shooters, and that's great. The quality of the 3 and how you get the threes matters as much as shooting them. So you need that presence in there to kind of threaten a little bit, and sometimes they don't, as Bobby pointed out, they don't have it. They don't have that, those guys down below there.
The real concern is that your bona fide shooters, your bona fide scorers, Brown and Tatum, have really struggled
Are way down.
from three
Yeah.
all year. Another 1 of 8 for Tatum tonight, below 36% from three. He had that 4-year start to his career where he's at 38%. Still can't really figure out why. But you're going to be looking at him if you get in a drought late in games. And he's another guy who takes 9 a game. And I know your attempts go up, your points per possession go up. You don't have to shoot as high of a percentage on threes as you do on twos to get the points. I get all of it. And you have to do it now. Like, we can complain about it all we want. Everybody does it, so you have to do it just to give yourself a mathematical chance. But it changes a little bit in the playoffs where the sample size is smaller, where it's just a couple games that decide your fate. I get nervous about it because look at those teams, the highest volume three-point teams ever. The Rockets from 20 to 21. Nothing to show for it. The Bucks in 19, 20, as well as last year, 22, nothing to show for it. The Warriors, they're the exception, but they had the best personnel ever to do it. And now the Celtics are going to try their hand at it. The volume of threes they're shooting is crazy. Would they shoot 51 in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I get it. I totally get it. I get the explanations behind it. It just makes me nervous. We saw that 2-month stretch there. They weren't the same team when they weren't falling.
No, they're not. And at the end of the day, just from a standpoint in terms of the league, they're.
I was laughing the other night inside the NBA. Charles Barkley, he had a lot of funny lines that show, but he's like, there's not a lot of coaching in the league anymore. You just show up, and if the threes go in, you win. If they don't, you lose.
He's been on one about the three-point shooting. Yeah, he's sick of it.
I mean, it's a very boomer take. Too many threes. It's obviously a key to NBA success. It's just, there are teams that just shoot it because that's what they do, and there are teams who are just deadly and knock them down. We've seen the Celtics team back in the, Jay Crowder being a 3-and-D wing days where you'd see them get really good shots, work the ball for it under Brad.
Well, they're doing that this year, which I do like.
Get those threes, and then they just weren't going in. They're shooting a league average clip at it or lower. It's just that, it's whether or not you have full faith. It's not the approach. Do you have faith in your shooters, and are there enough shooters out here? Are you truly one of the elite teams shooting wise? I mean, they're like 7th or 8th overall in the NBA right now, but that's after a scorching start to the year. If you looked at their last couple months, they're probably, I had done it before, they were 23rd or 24th in three-point percentage after that 21-5 start. That number's gone up because they've been on fire the last 2 games, but I kind of did that 26-26 split. They were bottom 6 or 7 in three-point percentage for as many games as they were number 1. So which team are you? It's an identity thing. You don't know if the first part was the real thing and the second part was the aberration, or vice versa. Terms of like you're trying to figure it out over the last third of the season, I guess, right?
Would you guys talk about Hauser?
We talked about Hauser a lot. I've got a Jason Tatum graphic on the screen, and I'm going in that direction right now. Right. Any concerns with Jason Tatum? I mean, there's no concerns with Jason Tatum. He's the best player on the team by miles and an obvious MVP candidate. But 3 games in February against 3 teams that you would consider to be among the better defensive teams in the league, in Phoenix, Philly, and Memphis. 3 of 16 in this game, 5 of 15 against Philly, 3 of 15 against Phoenix, 16 points, 12 points, 20 points. When faced with a team that can throw bodies at him, that has good individual defenders, and again, there's always those shades of kind of Golden State and what they were able to do to him to take him out of his game. And then you've got like the 41 against, the worst defense in, basketball against Charlotte and this and that. Does it concern you watching him struggle? Like the fact that they're pointing out that Brooks has him locked up. I don't think Brooks shouldn't be able to lock up Tatum. What's Sherrod? I want to hear your take here.
No, here's the thing. I think Brooks has the prototype build to make life tough for Tatum. He's strong. He likes to be physical. And if we're keeping it honest and keeping it real, the refs let him play. He gets 6 fouls, and he commits about 11 per game, but only gets like maybe 4 or 5 called because, again, they allow him to do that. But I just think Tatum is getting to that point where certain matchups that traditionally give him fits, I think he's going to figure out the cheat code and make teams pay when it matters. I think he when you look at his ascension to where he's at now, he's checked out pretty much every box that he's supposed to on a journey. Can you get past the teams that have had your number? Can you beat teams that have elite players? Can you show up in those games? The only team that you really feel he still hasn't been able to kind of get a feel for to master them is Golden State, and understandably so. That's the standard that teams measure themselves against. I'm not worried about Dylan Brooks. I don't think Memphis is going to be there at the end of the day. They sell a lot of wolf tickets that they can't cash.
No, I agree. And again, you have to point out it's not fair to say this that there's no Jalen Brown. There's more attention on Tatum, in these games. But I hate seeing him. I hate seeing anybody take him out of games. That's all, because it's almost like you just want him to be invincible, right? You're gonna have bad games because sometimes the shot just doesn't fall. I hate seeing him being taken out, but it's really hard. I mean, you see, not only there's a defender, there's somebody waiting there to double at the point of attack. It's always harder for him here. This is the classic make the other guys beat you game, and it's happened twice this week where the other guys did in fact beat you. So you're gonna take that every time. That ends up being a win for you. Yeah.
And you're going to take that every time, especially because a year ago, he's dribbling the heck out of the ball. He's trying to force the issue. He's thinking, I got to carry this team. And he knows now that he's at a point in his career where that's not winning basketball. The best way is to get other guys involved, beat them, as a team. And that's exactly what they've done in these last couple of wins. I mean, he did do a little bit of that in the first quarter. You know what? I think Sherrod, actually, you pointed it out. We were sitting next to each other. And you're like, he's too much dribbling. I'm like, man, I just got a flashback of last season when he used to do that. And most of those games turned into L's, and it turned into a very poor shooting night. Whereas today wasn't great either, but he was getting to the free throw line, trying to get other guys involved as well.
Yeah.
So he's been aggressive.
Jordan important foul on Jackson.
It is the Super Bowl. It is Sherrod's Eagles that are playing in it. We do want to give him a chance to get home and be able to see this game. So I want to get Sherrod in front of his television. We're going to wrap it up here.
Forgot he's an Eagles fan.
Yep.
We talked about going. I was like, why? And then you said it. I was like, that's right.
Eagles. Final thoughts and predictions on the game here?
Eagles by 15.
Yep. Bobby? Is Bobby dead?
I'll go Chiefs.
That's not his normal face. He's frozen. Bobby hasn't been with us for a while, right? Okay, there he is.
That's messed up. Let him finish.
What happened?
Bobby went bye-bye.
Oh, I saw him frozen on the screen. I was trying to get him back. Sorry.
Bobby went bye-bye.
You got me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll go Chiefs. Why not? Let's see Mahomes get it done. Everyone's picking the Eagles. It seems like I'll go the other way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. See, I want to see that happen, Bobby, but I think Eagles got this one. I'll go 27-21, something like that. Eagles.
Who's gonna be the special guest at halftime?
That's not good enough for you, Sherrod. That's not good. Would you make a face?
I'll take that. Yeah,
I think Eagles win, and I actually don't think it's close. I think they're better at almost every position on the field, with the exception of quarterback, tight end.
You think this could be a blowout?
KC has some good guys up front, their offensive line, so they've been able to do decent stuff there. But I think the Eagles is this is a master class in roster building. That team is freaking stacked. So I'm going Eagles to build up a big lead, and then Mahomes to get it closer.
We'll make it interesting.
Final score will be closer than the actual game, but I think the Eagles still win this one. I'm going to go 38-31 with a massive comeback by KC to make it that close. Anyway, we are going to wrap it. Thank you guys for hanging out. We're back on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's the All-Star break. So we'll check out those games, Milwaukee and Detroit. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Stay safe if you're going somewhere and then coming back. Make sure you kind of take it easy there. Pass off those keys. Yeah, have more wings than beers, or at least, have enough wings to soak up the beer and do whatever you want there.
Keep it liquor, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, that move right there. Good tip.
That move. Yep. But we will see it. Thank you guys again for hanging out. We'll see you guys later.